Why does everyone seem tired all the time? Seriously, think about it. You wake up tired. You go to work tired. You come home tired. Music. And it's not just you. It's everyone around you. Your coworkers, your friends, your family. Everyone complains about the same thing. Music. Constant exhaustion. But here's the most alarming part. This is not normal. Our grandparents didn't live like this. They worked hard. Physical labor, manual jobs, music. And yet they still had energy when they got home. Energy for conversations, music. For playing with their children, for social life, for relationships. So what changed? Stimulus overload. Think about your morning. You wake up and immediately reach for your phone. 20 notifications. 50 emails. 100 WhatsApp messages. Before you even brush your teeth, your brain has already processed more information than our grandparents handled in an entire week. Then you go to work. Zoom meetings. Slack messages. Emails arriving non-stop. Your phone vibrating constantly. You're not doing one task at a time. You're doing 10 at once. And your brain is screaming, "Stop! I can't handle this anymore." But you don't stop. Because stopping feels like wasting time. Stopping feels unproductive. So you keep pushing and pushing and pushing until you can't anymore. And then comes the most frustrating part. You go to the doctor. Blood tests. Thyroid checks. Vitamin levels. Everything comes back normal. The doctor looks at you and says, "You're healthy." Music. It's just stress. Try to rest. But how do you rest when your mind never shuts off? How do you relax when even lying on the couch means scrolling through Instagram? How do you recover when even your rest is filled with stimulation? The truth is, music. You no longer know how to rest. And the worst part is, you don't even realize that's the real problem. Now here's something interesting. While the Western world is moving toward an energy collapse, while burnout becomes an epidemic, while people rely on medication to calm down or massive doses of caffeine to function, there is a place where things develop differently. Japan. And it's not because the Japanese work less. On the contrary, they even have a word for death from overwork, karoshi. But they also preserved something the West has largely lost. Ancient practices of energy recovery. Concepts used by samurai for centuries. Concepts that modern neuroscience is now confirming. Japan is not perfect, and many people, even in Japan, don't apply these ideas. But those who do often have far more energy than most people. There are 3 simple concepts. 3 practices. If applied correctly, they can completely change your relationship with energy. The first is called Seijaku. It means active stillness. It's not meditation. Music. It's not sleep. It's something deeper. It's giving your brain what it needs most and rarely gets, real silence. Science supports this. 10 minutes of Seijaku per day activates the brain's default mode network, the brain's cleaning mode, and reduces mental fatigue. The second practice is Shin-Rin-Yoku, which literally means forest bathing. It's the practice of spending intentional time in nature. Music. It's not hiking. It's not exercising. It's simply being there. Japanese studies show that spending 2 hours in a forest lowers cortisol. Music strengthens the immune system and restores attention damaged by excessive screen time. It's a direct antidote to stimulus overload. The third is inamuri, the art of strategic napping. Short naps of 10 to 20 minutes restore energy without entering deep sleep. Modern music. Science confirms this. Power naps significantly increase alertness and improve memory and creativity. It's the mental reset your brain needs during the day. 3 concepts. 3 ancient practices mastered by Japanese warriors. And they can protect you from modern burnout. But before I explain how to apply this to your life, let me tell you about someone who was exactly where you might be right now. His name is Caleb. He's 35 years old, married, successful, and completely drained. He had everything, but no energy for anything. No energy to work properly. No energy to train. No energy even to date his own wife. And the worst part? He didn't even know his problem had a solution, until the day he sat across from a Japanese doctor who taught him exactly what you're about to learn. And that music changed his life. But before we get into that story, if you feel like you're living on autopilot, constantly tired, lacking energy even without physical effort, music, subscribe to the channel and like this video. What you're about to learn may completely change how you understand tiredness and rest. I also want to take this music moment to wish you a happy new year. Let's make 2026 one of the best years of our lives. Now come with me. The story begins here. Chapter 1. The Life of Caleb. Caleb woke up every day with the same feeling. That heavy feeling. You know when you sleep 8 hours but feel like you slept only 2? That was his reality. Every single day. He opened music. His eyes reached for his phone and started scrolling. Instagram. Music. Emails. Messages. Before getting out of bed, he had already processed 50 notifications. Music. And his brain was exhausted. But he didn't notice. Because for him that was normal. Caleb worked as a systems analyst. He spent his days in front of a computer. His routine seemed healthy. He slept well. He ate reasonably well. Music. He even tried to work out. But training felt unbearable. He dragged himself to the gym. Once there, every set felt like climbing a mountain. It wasn't physical weakness. It was mental exhaustion. He could do it, but it felt like carrying 50 kilos of invisible weight all the time. At work, by 10 a.m., he was already mentally drained. That made no sense. The day had just started. So the cycle continued. Coffee. More coffee. Energy drinks in the afternoon. More coffee later. He kept working, but not fully alive. Just functioning. Like a robot on autopilot. What hurt him the most wasn't work. It wasn't even training. It was Clarice, his wife. They had been together for 8 years and trying to have a child for 2. But how do you build a family when you barely have the energy to connect? Days passed. Sometimes weeks. Clarice was there. Smiling, cooking, trying to talk. And Caleb responded with short answers. Yes. Later. We'll see. Then he went straight to the couch, phone in hand, scrolling endlessly. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. None of it interested him. Music. But it required no effort. And Clarice noticed. She watched her husband slowly disconnect, fading away. She tried to bring it up gently. Music. Love, have you been sleeping well? Maybe you should take a few days off. We could travel somewhere, get some fresh air. But Caleb always had an answer ready. It's nothing, babe. It's just work. This week has been intense, but it will pass. It'll get better soon. But it didn't get better. And they both, music, knew it. Chapter 2. The Difficult Conversation. One night, Clarice sat beside him on the couch. She took the phone from his hand and said something he would never forget. Caleb, I can't keep watching you like this. He tried to look away. Like what? Music. Like this, she said. Empty. You're not really here. You're always tired. You don't have energy for me, for us, for anything. There was silence. Then she continued. Love, we want to have a child. But do you honestly think we're ready? You can barely take care of yourself. That hurt because music, it was true. He knew he didn't have the energy to be a father. He could barely manage being a husband. Clarice took his hand. I need you to get help. Not necessarily therapy, but something. See a doctor. Do some tests. Just try. And for the first time in months, Caleb Music agreed. Chapter 3. The Consultation. 2 weeks later, Music. Caleb sat in a waiting room. A clean, minimalist medical clinic. Clarice had found the doctor online. Dr. Yuki, specialist in integrative medicine. Even the name felt different. So did the approach. When Caleb entered the office, the first thing he noticed was Dr. Yuki herself. A Japanese woman, gray hair tied neatly back, perfect posture. She wasn't behind a desk stacked with papers. She sat comfortably in a chair, holding a cup of tea. She smiled. Please sit, Caleb. Would you like some tea? He accepted, slightly awkward. Music. They spoke for about 10 minutes. Not about symptoms. Just life, work, routine. Then Yuki asked, Caleb, when was the last time you felt truly rested? He thought, and music. Realized he couldn't remember. It's been years. Yuki nodded, as if she expected that answer. And you've already done medical tests? Blood work, thyroid, vitamins? Yes. Everything is music, normal. She asked another question. When was the last time you did absolutely nothing? Caleb frowned. Nothing? What do you mean? No phone, no TV, no music. Just you and silence. He laughed, uncomfortable. Never. Exactly, she said. And that's where the problem begins. Chapter 4. The Revelation. Yuki stood and walked to a bookshelf. She pulled out music, an old book. Caleb, have you heard of the samurai? Japanese warriors, right? Yes. But they were more than warriors. They were masters of energy. She opened the book to a marked page. The samurai had to be ready at all times, to fight, to decide, to lead. Yet they were not constantly exhausted. Do you know why? Caleb shook his head. Because they understood something the modern world has forgotten. She sat down and looked directly at him. Energy is not forced. Energy is cultivated. They followed 3 fundamental practices. 3 concepts that kept them strong, alert, and alive. Only now is modern science beginning to understand them. Caleb listened closely. The first is Seijaku, active stillness. The second is Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. Music. And the third is Inamuri, strategic napping. She smiled. And I'm going to teach you all 3. Because you don't need medication, Caleb. You need to relearn how your brain works. Chapter 5. The 3 concepts. Let's begin with Seijaku, Yuki said. Do you know the biggest energy drain in your life? Caleb thought. Work. No, she replied. Mental noise. She explained. Your brain works like a computer. Music. It has memory and processing limits. Every notification. Every multitasking moment. Every time you scroll endlessly. You're running too many programs at once. And what happens when that happens? The system overheats and freezes. Seijaku is the opposite, Yuki continued. Music. It's active stillness. It's not sleep. It's not necessarily meditation. It's quiet awareness, alert, present, effortless. The samurai practiced this before battle. They sat in silence and observed their breath, the sounds, the body, and something remarkable happened. Their brains entered the default mode network. The brain stops consuming information and starts reorganizing itself. It's the brain's cleaning process. Caleb was intrigued. And science supports this? Absolutely. 10 minutes of Seijaku per day significantly reduces mental fatigue. She handed him a paper. Every morning, after waking up, sit in silence for 10 minutes. No phone. No music. Nothing. It will feel uncomfortable. It may feel like wasted time. But trust the process. Caleb nodded and took the paper. Now the second concept, Yuki said. Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. Have you noticed how you feel when you spend time in nature? Music. Lighter, Caleb replied. Exactly. And it's not psychological, it's biological. She showed him studies and charts. In the 1980s, Japan created a national Shinrin-yoku program. Burnout, depression, and fatigue were rising. So they studied it. What happens when someone spends 2 hours in a forest? The results were clear. Cortisol drops by 12 to 16%. Blood pressure decreases. The immune system improves. Caleb's eyes widened. Music. Just by being there? Yes. No exercise required. No effort. Just presence. Nature has a rhythm cities don't. The brain recognizes it as safe. And when it feels safe, it recovers. She looked at him. You live in a city. Are there parks nearby? Yes. Good. Twice a week, spend 1 hour there. No phone. No headphones. Just walk and observe. And if you can find a place with more trees, even better. Caleb wrote everything down. And now the third concept, Yuki said. You'll like this one. Inamuri, strategic napping. Music. Caleb smiled. A nap. Yes, but a precise one. In Japan, people nap in public, on trains, at work. It's not seen as laziness. It's seen as responsibility. Energy isn't endless. It must be restored. The samurai practiced short, vigilant naps. 10 to 20 minutes. Enough to recharge without entering deep sleep. Science confirms this. Short naps increase alertness, memory, creativity, and problem-solving. But timing matters. More than 20 minutes leads to grogginess. She checked the clock. Music. Every day after lunch, between 1 and 3 p.m. Take 15 minutes. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Rest. You don't need to sleep deeply. Just pause. Caleb was impressed. 3 simple ideas. Music. Clear and practical. Does this really work? Yuki smiled. I wouldn't recommend it if it didn't. Try it for 30 days. Then tell me what changes. Chapter 6. The Process. Week 1. Resistance. Caleb left the clinic feeling hopeful, but skeptical. Music. Could something so simple really help? But he had promised Clarice. And himself. So the next morning, music day 1 began. Seijaku. Caleb woke at 6:30 a.m. Instead of reaching for his phone, he sat on the edge of the bed. The first 30 seconds were easy. Then his thoughts rushed in. Did that email arrive? I need to answer the client. When is the meeting? He opened his eyes and almost grabbed his phone. But he stopped. He breathed deeply and closed his eyes again. Those 10 minutes felt endless. Music. But he completed them. Day 3. Shinrin-yoku. On Saturday, Caleb went alone to the park near his home. No phone. Just him and nature. Left it in the car, and he began to walk. At first, he felt music, uncomfortable. What am I doing here? Just walking around without a purpose. But after a while, his thoughts slowed, and he started to notice music. The breeze moving through the trees, the birds calling, the scent of wet grass. He sat on a bench and remained there, simply observing. For the first time in years, he felt something unfamiliar. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't excitement. It was calm. A deep calm, as if something inside him had eased. He stayed there for an hour, and when he returned to the car, he realized he hadn't thought about work even once. Day 5. Inamuri. Monday, 2 p.m. After lunch. Caleb closed the door of his home office. He set a 15-minute timer. He sat back in the reclining chair and tried to nap. At first, sleep didn't come. He stayed still, eyes closed, thoughts moving quickly. But gradually, his body relaxed. His breathing, music, slowed. His weight settled into the chair. When the alarm rang, music. He opened his eyes and noticed something unexpected. He felt refreshed. Not fully rested, but better. As if something had quietly reset. And his afternoon? It passed smoothly, without the familiar 3 p.m. crash, without the usual drop in energy. Second week. Subtle changes. During the second music week, small shifts began to appear. Caleb kept practicing the 3 concepts every day. Music, Seijaku in the morning, Shinrin-yoku twice a week, Inamuri daily. He started to notice differences. First, he no longer reached for his phone the moment he woke up. That urgency, the need to check everything, had softened. Second, his sleep improved. Not longer, but deeper. He woke less often during the night. Third, his thinking became clearer. Music. He focused more easily at work, made decisions faster, and most importantly, he had energy left for other parts of life. Energy. Music. To talk with Clarice when he got home, energy to cook together, energy for closeness. And on a Thursday night, after weeks of distance, music. They reconnected in a genuine way. Week 3. The insight. In the third week, Caleb experienced a realization. He was in the park practicing Shinrin-yoku when it suddenly became clear. He wasn't tired because he lacked sleep. He wasn't tired due to missing vitamins. He was tired because music. He lived in constant resistance. Resistance to silence. Seijaku. Resistance to nature. Shinrin-yoku. Resistance to rest. Music. Inamuri. Every day he fought his own brain, forcing focus, forcing productivity, forcing energy. And that constant effort drained him. Now he was doing the opposite. He was working with his brain, giving it what it needed. Silence, nature, music, rest. And in return, the brain gave him energy, music focus, and clarity. It was simple, obvious, and at the same time transformative. This is where science supports the experience. It's not only Japanese philosophy, it's neuroscience. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a Stanford neuroscientist, explains that when the brain is exposed to periods music of inactivity, the default mode network activates. This is when the brain organizes memories, processes emotions, and clears music, metabolic waste. That is exactly what Seijaku encourages. Dr. Ching Li, a Japanese immunologist and leading researcher in Shinrin-yoku, discovered that trees release compounds called phytoncides. When inhaled, these compounds significantly increase NK cells, cells that defend against viruses and cancer. Music. The effect can last up to 30 days. In other words, Shinrin-yoku is not only calming, it is therapeutic. Dr. Sarah Mednick, music, a sleep researcher at UC Irvine, demonstrated that naps lasting 10 to 20 minutes are the most effective for restoring alertness and mental performance. They avoid deep sleep, so you wake up refreshed rather than groggy. That is precisely what Inamuri provides. So yes, it works and science confirms it. But there is something even more important. Something Dr. Yuki shared with Caleb during his final visit, which changed how he understood energy. She said, "Caleb, do you know why the samurai were so effective in battle? It wasn't because they were stronger or faster. It was because they did not waste energy. While other warriors fought with tension, music, anger, and fear, the samurai fought in Seijaku, active stillness. They used only the energy required, no more and no less. And that is the lesson to apply in life. It's not about having more energy. It's about stopping the waste of the energy you already have." And that realization changed everything for Caleb. He understood that he didn't need Red Bull. He didn't need more coffee. Music. What he needed was to stop losing energy. Mental energy drained by constant worry, by multitasking, by endless screen time. Physical energy lost through continuous muscle tension, poor posture, music, and inadequate sleep. Emotional energy spent on meaningless arguments, comparisons, and social media. Once he stopped leaking energy, he discovered he had more than enough for everything that truly mattered. Chapter 7. 4 months. Music. Later. 4 months had passed. Caleb was sitting on the couch. Clarice sat beside him, holding something in her hands. A pregnancy test. Positive. They looked at each other and began to cry with happiness, because now they were ready. Not only physically, but emotionally, music, mentally as well. Caleb was no longer depleted. He had energy. Energy to be a husband. Energy to be a father. Energy for life. And it all began with 3 simple concepts. Seijaku, stillness that restores. Shinrin, music. Yoku, nature that heals. Inamuri, rest that energizes. Music. 3 ancient practices with the power to change everything in music, your life. So let me ask you this. Are you living the way Caleb once lived? Always tired. Always on autopilot. Always low on energy. Now ask yourself something else. Music. Are you ready for a change? Because the truth is simple. You don't need more energy. You just need to stop wasting what you already have. And what are the 3 concepts you learned today? This is the path. It starts tomorrow. 10 minutes of Seijaku when you wake up. 1 hour in the park twice a week. Music. It can be a light walk, as long as you take time to observe the nature around you. 15 minutes of inamuri after lunch. Do this for 30 days, music. And observe the results, because life is too short to live exhausted. And if this video helped you in any way, if you felt this message reached you at the right moment, leave a comment, music, below. I share videos like this every week. Deep concepts, ancient, music, philosophies, modern science, all designed to help you live better. And share this video with someone who needs to hear it, music. Because you may know someone like Caleb, someone living on autopilot, and this could be the message that changes their life. Thank you for watching until the end. And remember, energy cannot be forced. Energy is cultivated. See you in the next video.